Now, how many of you have heard of Abraham Maslow? Okay, important professor at Harvard University, who said, you know, we've got a whole system of psychology based on ill people. That can't give us a representative perception of mankind, I mean men and women. And so he made a study on self-actualized persons, people with high self-actualization. And what did he find common in those people? Self-actualization means people who were very successful, very capable, happy, high achievers, people that were not ill, were the opposite of ill, opposite of having problems, satisfied with themselves, with life. And you will see the description, what he found common in those people, so that we can understand what we are talking about with the concept of evolution and getting free from these negative perceptions. What will happen? First of all, a superior perception of reality, that is, less distortion through fears and complexes. So it's what I said earlier, because these fears are not being affected, the first two belief systems, what is happening is coming through, and I'm seeing things more clearly. Not so much affected by my programming. Second, greater acceptance of self and others. This is very important. To be accepting of myself and accepting of others. We all have faults. Anyone here has not made 1,000 mistakes? How many mistakes? Who's made 1,000 mistakes?
1,000, maybe more.
2,000?
More.
Okay. It's the nature of the human mind. We are all worthy of being loved and accepted as we are. And everyone that we know, because of our divine nature.
Who knows?
Who knows this? All the great teachers. All the great teachers teach the same thing. We are divine beings, temporarily playing these roles, but our inner nature is divine. Our inner nature is the light before it goes through the film. We're looking at what happens after the film, after the mind, after what we call the causal body. I believe that we are divine. You have the free will not to believe it. You don't have to believe anything I say. Okay? But after 45 years of not doing much else, only searching psychologically and spiritually, I have come to that conclusion, that each of you is divine. Your actions may not be very divine, the thoughts may not be very divine, but that being behind all of that is divine and always deserving. We have to separate worth and ability and morality. They're three different things. Okay? We often identify self-worth with ability. If he's able to do things, he's more worthy. Okay? So does that mean that a person who is very capable is more worthy than a little child who cannot do anything? Or is more worthy than a person in a coma at a hospital and cannot do anything? That person in a coma is less worthy of love and respect. Can't do anything, doesn't offer anything to anyone, costs about $2,000 a day to be there. And yet we continue to love and respect that being. Why? For his presence, for his nature, okay? His inner nature. Okay? So our inner nature is the same, whether we're able or not able. And if you can believe that, you may not agree with this, if I'm moral or immoral.
It depends on how you define worth.
Okay, what I'm saying is worthy of love and respect. Maybe I'm not worthy of responsibilities. You're not going to give someone who is not able, you're not going to give him responsibilities. Okay? Maybe I'm not worthy of trust because I have stolen or I have harmed you in some way. So these are separate things. One thing is to be worthy of love and respect. Another is to be worthy of responsibilities. And a third is to be worthy of trust. We can love and respect someone without giving them a position of trust or responsibility in our lives. We have to separate that. So for me, everyone is worthy of love and respect, whatever they do. They may not be worthy of my cooperating with them on a certain endeavor or living in the same house or something like that. Okay, so greater acceptance of self and others. And these go together. The more we accept ourselves, the easier to accept others. Okay.
You said three things about not being worthy.
Worthy of love and respect.
You said three things.
And then worthy of responsibility.
Ability.
Responsibility. For example, you're not going to make president of the company someone who doesn't know how to be the president of the company. He's not worthy of more love and respect, but he's worthy of the responsibility. You understand? The other person who is cleaning the floors is equally worthy of love and respect, in my perception. Okay? And then there's morality. Okay? Now, as I said, you don't have to accept anything that I say. Okay?
What about for a murder for you?
Murder. The murderer is also worthy of love and respect. He's not worthy of freedom. He shouldn't be walking around until he gets healed. Actually, someone murdered my father in Beirut. My father was the dean of students at the American University in Beirut. Yeah, he was for 18 years the dean of students there. And one day a student walked in his office and shot him. The student was upset about his grades. And so I don't believe this was a chance situation. This being, he was a Jordanian student, deserves my love and respect. He doesn't deserve to be free until he is healed of this illness which caused him to shoot people. So I have no negative feelings towards him. But first of all, I don't believe that one person can create the reality of another person. So this is another question we can talk about later. For me, my father chose that way to live, to leave the physical realm. And this person was the means. Should he go to prison for that? Yes. Yes, he should. But he was not the cause. So this is a whole other question. I believe that we are never, no one else is ever the cause of our reality. Their actions can be unjust, but injustice cannot happen to us. Why? Because I believe that the causes of our reality are what I said earlier: cause and effect, soul choices, and the reflection of what I think. So am I responsible if I behave unjustly to you? Yes. That irresponsible behavior will come back to me, but I'm not the cause of your reality. This is an interesting concept, because with this concept, there's no such thing as feeling injustice or anger or hurt, because I believe that the universe is just. And also there's no guilt. So with this way of thinking, actually, forgiveness becomes automatic. Because I have nothing to forgive, because no one ever actually did anything to me, and I never actually did anything to anyone else. I'm responsible for my actions, and those actions will come back to me someday. Now I realize that this kind of thinking may be strange for you, but it's the conclusion that I have come to after all these years because if karma does exist, and if we are the creator of our realities, then no one else can ever be the creator. There can only be an actor, the means for us to experience some opportunities for growth. Really, there is nothing happening here but opportunities for growth. There's nothing else going on, really. Marriages are opportunities for growth. Divorces are opportunities for growth. Children are opportunities for growth. Betrayal. Life, betrayal is an opportunity for growth. And the death of a loved one is the greatest opportunity for growth. The death of a loved one is the greatest opportunity for growth, because it really causes us to really search for some kind of meaning in all of that, and for how we can again be happy, by realizing that that happiness was not in the being that left, but in ourselves, and that we sort of projected that happiness into the, we allow people and situations to make us happy. And we allow people and situations to make us unhappy. It's all our creation. Okay, let's go back to the self-actualized persons. Increased spontaneity, greater freedom of thought. I hope you like to dance, because we're going to do some dancing in the evening, which is a nice spontaneous way of. Increase in problem centering, the ability to go to the center of a problem. Okay? The mind doesn't get lost out here. But what is the situation? What is the problem? What is the solution? Increased detachment and a greater desire for privacy. One of the qualities that I found. Less attachment, but an increased need to have time by himself. I would call this time for centering, time for creative intuition, for time to come in contact with my inner self and begin to clarify things, what I want to do. Greater increased autonomy and resistance to enculturation. This is very important. That is, this person doesn't reject society, okay? But he thinks for himself. And there may be some things he would agree with, but there are other things that he doesn't agree with. He allows himself to have his own belief system and to live by that belief system. And this is not easy, okay? Because the tribe, how many of you have followed the teachings of Wayne Dyer? Wayne Deere, I think you say. He says it Dyer. He talks about the tribe. He says society is like a tribe. You know, a tribe is these, the nomads, the Bedouins, for example, okay? That you really can't exist in a tribe and think differently. It's difficult. And the main punishment in the old days was to be ostracized. It was like death. To be ostracized, to be thrown out of the society. So there's a great fear of thinking differently. Okay? And what he's saying is that the self-actualized people have overcome that fear. And when you accept that you are different, people have no choice. It's when we're in that stage in between where we're fearing, but I don't see it that way, I don't think it's like that, the way society is seeing it. Then you get this bombardment of reactions against you because you're not sure yourself. But when you become sure, then everyone stops bothering you. Okay, he's crazy. He eats only vegetables. He thinks about these things. He doesn't believe in social life. Don't even ask him. Okay, so you create that reality in which you are free to be who you are. And no one rejects you anymore because you accept yourself as being different. Well, the self-actualized people are like that. They don't fear being different. 7, greater freshness of appreciation and richness of emotional creation. They're appreciative. They feel gratitude. And I think gratitude is one of the most important emotions. And you probably know by the law of attraction that gratitude is what empowers you to bring more of what you like. How many of you have seen the movie or read the book, The Secret? Okay, so you know about gratitude. The more gratitude I feel, the more I attract from the universe whatever I need. Now, he found something else, a higher frequency of peak experiences. Now, what is this peak experience? He labeled this, it's an experience with the dissolution of self-boundaries. An experience of oneness with the environment. And these people were reporting this. I had this experience in which I couldn't sense the difference between myself and the people around me and nature. And so that illusion of separateness disappears. And he calls it peak experience. It happens in nature more easily. Some people have reported this during the sexual intercourse, especially women, having lost the sense of self. Okay? So the loss of sense of separation and self is the peak experience. And these people had more, and this of course a meditative state, which we arrive at in meditation, in which we lose a sense of time and space and oneness with all. Increased identification with, yeah.
Before moving to that, talking about peak experiences, are we talking about the ones that are challenging only?
No, these wouldn't be challenging. They could be challenging for someone because it's something different, but they're usually very beautiful experiences.
No. Such as?
Similar to an orgasm from the point of view that you are losing your sense of self and control. You're becoming one with everything around you. Have you read the book, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield? Okay, in that book, he describes a peak experience. It's the fifth insight. That's another seminar we could do at some point. Where and sometimes it happens to people in danger also. Danger can bring this up. And he was in danger, and then he just experienced his oneness with everything and the loss of separate identity. Okay?
Can we arrive to
This weekend, you know. It usually requires a lot of meditation, or you're ready for it and something happens. It happens to some people just like that, without any kind of techniques. You never know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen. But meditation is one of the better preparations. Dance. I'm sure that a lot of the Sufis in the whirling, after an hour or two of whirling, are getting to that state. I mean, it's a state of transcendence of the mental process. So ritual dance and chanting also, and chanting mantras, is one of the ways in which people come to that state. Prayer is another way. Yeah. Usually repetitive things. No. Changed. Okay, now we said increased identification with the human species, and thus less identification with specific groups. Okay? So he's not taking the part of this group against that group or that group. I mean, all religions seem acceptable, all political perceptions, all social groups. I'm seeing a human being. I'm not seeing a religion. I'm not seeing a political party. I'm not seeing an educational level. I'm not seeing a monetary level. I'm seeing a human being. Okay?
Is it empathy at the same time?
You could call it empathy. Yeah. And change, the clinician would say, improved impersonal relationships. Okay? At least from our point of view. The other person may still not love us, but if we love them, that's all that's necessary. Increased, more democratic character, nature, structure. He doesn't need to impose his will on others. Okay? He can be democratic. And greatly increased creativeness. Okay? And certain changes in the value system. Okay? It gives value to other things. Less value perhaps to material things. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have material things. You know, there's sort of a false concept that material wealth and money cannot be combined with spirituality. This is an illusion as far as I'm concerned. What the problem is the attachment to this. Someone could have it and not be attached to it, and they would be fine. Someone could not have anything and be attached to it, and that will be an obstacle. So the thing is the attachment to the material or the monetary. Okay. Anything you want to ask here until now? That is a description by Abraham Maslow of a self-actualized person. And we can see the qualities that we may be heading for in this process. Okay? No questions? Okay, go to the next page. Now, here we see the means by which our reality is created. Okay? How is our reality created? There is what we call the stimulus. The stimulus can be someone says something, someone does something, something happens, we gain something, we lose something. Also, the stimulus can be mental. For example, we can have emotions because we have emotions.
What's stimulus in Turkish?
Weird.
Okay.
Whatever is happening, which is coming into my mind, and I'm evaluating it and creating emotions about that. Okay? For most of you, the most important stimuli will be your family's behavior, okay? Your family's health situation, your own health situation, okay? Events in your workplace, okay? Success and failure. These are all events from the external reality that are coming into the mind, okay? This is not our reality, though. Our reality is being created by how we perceive that, and that's the second state. The evaluation of the stimulus. What we believe, and consequently, how we interpret what has happened, is happening, or will happen. The stimulus could be in the future. I'm thinking about what's going to happen in this specific project, what's going to happen with my child, or myself, or my parent, what's going to happen with the economic crisis, whatever that may be. So the stimulus could be in the past, something that someone did to us, and we can't let go of it, and we're holding on to it. It could be something that's happening now, it could be something that's happening in the future, and it can be a secondary emotion. What is a secondary emotion? I see myself fearing and be angry with myself because I'm fearing. Or feel rejection. So I feel fear, and then I feel self-rejection. So the stimulus is my fear. Or I see myself being angry, and then I feel guilty because I'm angry. So the stimulus is my anger, and we call that a secondary emotion. And then I have the secondary emotion of guilt because I was angry. And when we're working with someone on this, we need to work on both levels. The primary emotion, and what is the primary stimulus, and then the emotion that I have because I have the emotion. Why is this important? Because if I don't accept that I have the emotion, I can't let go of it. So if I remain guilty because I'm angry, I'm going to hold on to the anger. And if I reject myself because I fear, I'm not going to be able to let go of the fear. So we have to clear the secondary emotion and then begin to work on the primary. Is that clear? Or do you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please. I mean, are we talking about some kind of projection, like I'm angry to something and I'm showing the something?
Okay, you are angry about something. How do you feel about the fact that you're angry? Do you accept being angry? Or you feel guilty because you're angry? Or you're angry at yourself because you're angry? You could have a secondary emotion, you could not have a secondary. It's not that you have to have a secondary.
Sometimes I may have some,
Right.
but
I'll give you an example. Anger is always a secondary emotion. Okay? And the first emotion is pain. Okay? Because I feel pain, I become angry. Okay? I could also have guilt. Okay, so anger is always a secondary emotion. First of all, I have to feel hurt or injustice or betrayal or fear, and then the anger comes up because I'm feeling that. If I didn't feel pain, I wouldn't feel anger.
are you calling this primary?
The anger is secondary.
Emotion?
Pain is the primary emotion.
The name is primary.
The main primary emotions are pain, fear, and guilt. But they can always be. They can also be secondary.
Fear, guilt, and pain.
Yeah, these are the major ones.
Major.
Yeah.
And this.
But anger, always with anger, I have to be hurt first. I have to feel some kind of danger, and then I become angry. Okay. So the stimulus comes into the mind evaluates what's happening and creates the emotion. Okay? So the thing that's happening is not creating the emotion. The evaluation is creating the emotion. That's clear enough, I think. And that creates the reaction. Okay? What happens? What does the reaction create? The re-reaction from life. My reaction then creates another reaction from the other person or from life itself, and then I respond to that, and we're like two robots interacting, and both are unconscious. My programming is interacting with their programming. You might as well put two robots there. Okay. Neither of us is being conscious at this point, especially when we get into the anger, fear, guilt kind of thing. Okay? So what we want to do is get out of that programming. And for you to understand how powerful programming is, I have this model. It's a true story. You probably have heard it, about elephants. When elephants are young, they place a metal chain and a metal spike, and they're strong, and the elephant can't walk away around the leg. As it grows up, it becomes conditioned that when there is this thing around its leg, or a peg, it can't get away. And they just start putting a wooden peg and a rope. You know, the elephant could easily get away, but the elephant is programmed to believe that it can't get away. And this is how it is with us. We have been programmed as children to believe so many limiting things about ourselves, and we're living our lives under those programmings. And we can do much more. Okay. Okay, so any question about this process? Okay, then move on to the next page. And we see here the mechanisms of beliefs. So we have a diagram here which helps us understand the process. We have the stimulus, or thoughts, the event, the situation, or the thoughts about the past or the future. That goes through our belief system, which you can see to the right. I have separated into those four categories: emotionally charged impressions, false childhood conclusions, logical perceptions, and spiritual beliefs. Okay? And that when the event goes through the programming, it creates the emotions in the box underneath there, and that creates our reaction, and our reaction then goes back to the stimulus. Now, what do we try to do to create happiness? What do most people try to do? Change the stimulus, right? Get the other person to behave differently. Anyone successful in that? Okay. Okay. In fact, if we have time, I will teach you the Ho'oponopono, which is the most effective way to change other people's reactions by not asking them to change. By asking us to be freed from whatever in us is contributing to their behaving in this way. Okay, so we're going to change that now. I'm going to say, okay, how can I change the beliefs? What I need to do here is change the belief. The belief is what is causing the behavior, and the belief is what is interpreting the behavior or the situation. It doesn't have to be behavior, it could be anything. Okay? And I'm going to give you a chance to do that analysis now. Move to page 4. Now I'd like you to choose something which has been bothering you recently that you would like to analyze. It's important that you choose something important because we're going to do EFT on that eventually, and we're going to do other techniques on that. So the stimulus, I want you to write the stimulus there. Okay? You will write in Turkish. You don't have to write whole sentences, just so that you understand what you're working with. What emotions you have, and then what I believe about that stimulus, which makes me have these feelings when in contact with the stimulus, or when I think about it. Then 4, how I react, internally and externally. Now, internal reaction would be, I tighten my stomach, my blood pressure goes up, I get a headache, I feel fear. An external reaction would be I shout, I walk away, I speak, I communicate, okay? Whatever I do externally. 5, how others react to me when I react in that way. 6, how would we prefer to feel and react? And then last, positive thought forms or beliefs that will help me to react differently. So what do you need to believe? What is that alteration in your belief system which will free you from this whole thing? Because for me, this whole thing exists for one reason: the change in your belief system, because there's nothing else. There's really no reality out there. There's only our belief system, which is attracting and creating it. So the only thing that we're really doing here is changing our belief system. So every event and every situation is an opportunity to say, how could I see this differently? How could I see myself differently, this person differently, what is happening differently? And then we will discuss that. So I want to give you some time to do an analysis on yourself now, and then we will see how to use that and how to do EFT on that and other techniques on that, okay? So those of you that, there's another, behind that there's another page in which it's empty, and you can also fill in there if you prefer. You can use the one page or the other. The second one is the diagram, in which you fill in the stimulus, you fill in the beliefs, you fill in the emotions. And that's something that you could even give to your clients and help them to understand. But what happens? Someone comes in, and this happens in our groups, and they start telling this huge story. And my husband did that, and my child did that, and they're in this, lost in this whole thing. It's okay, let's fill out the boxes. What is the stimulus? What are the emotions? What are the beliefs? Because a lot of people just want to tell their story, and they don't want a solution. Because the story is what gives them importance. The story is they are the victims. And the victim is always the good one. As long as I am the victim, I am good. And so a lot of people don't want to let go of the role of the victim. Okay? And then there's the better role even, the angry victim. So I'm worthy because I'm the victim. I'm right because I'm angry. Right? Whoever is angry is right. Whoever is the victim is good. Okay? And a lot of us just want to repeat that over and over again. How much injustice I am experienced or have experienced in my life. And some people have contests. I don't know if in the 50s in America, there was this show on television, Queen for a Day. And what would happen is the 3 women would come out. I don't know why it was always women. Well, it was Queen for a Day, it has to be a woman. And they would tell their story about how difficult their lives is. And then after everyone told how difficult their lives was, the audience would clap for one or the other, and according to the clapping, the one who had the worst story, the most difficult life, would get all the gifts. A refrigerator, a TV, a video, and all these things. So we're playing the same game. People get together and they share how difficult their husbands are, or their lives are, or their children are, and whoever has the worst life gets the gift, okay, which is the pity or okay, you got the worst reality. Okay, so there is an intrinsic resistance to letting go of the role of the victim and the role of the angry one. Because if I'm not angry, how am I going to protect myself? I need anger. I can't imagine protecting myself in another way. Yeah? So let's do this initial analysis. You can either fill out the questionnaire or the page with the boxes. See what you prefer. Okay? Any questions before I give you some time to do that? Okay, so take some time now. Okay, it doesn't matter if you haven't finished. It's something you can do at home, and we can do other things here together. This is a very important aspect of the work, being able to identify beliefs for yourselves and for your clients. You need to be, and working on ourselves is integral to being able to understand the others. So to understand what are the beliefs that are causing their discomfort in life, and what alternative beliefs there are. But in our center, for example, I have about 60 life coaches who work with me. I've trained them, and they work with me. And I'm also training life coaches on the internet. And we never give advice. We don't know. We don't know what the other person should do. We use active listening. We ask questions which help them understand what they're believing. We sometimes may say, do you have this belief? That's about as far as we will go. Could you accept this belief? Would you like to think about that? As a question always. In order to help them to decide themselves what is the belief that's causing their pain and what alternative belief will free them. Because what I have seen is that 10 people with the same problem have 10 different solutions. And because one solution worked for me, it doesn't mean it's the solution for the other person. Okay? So we work with questions. And that's what we're going to ask you to do now. You're all going to become coaches, one to the other, and you're going to make pairs. And one person is going to say, okay, this is what I have discovered until now. And the only thing you're allowed to do is to ask questions. Are there any other beliefs? Are there any other emotions? What do you believe which makes you believe this? And what do you believe which causes you to believe this, which makes you to believe this? Okay? Going deeper, helping them discover the deeper beliefs, and then towards the end of your discussion, it'll be about 10 minutes for each person. Okay? Don't go away. Don't digress from this function. We're just asking questions. And the person who is the subject of the analysis will write down the new things that he or she discovers. So if you discover a new belief, you write it down. Okay? And your goal is to arrive at a list of positive beliefs, alternative beliefs, that this person could use in order to become free. And then we'll see how we use that belief eventually to strengthen that belief. Okay? We're going to change the belief. Okay? So is it understandable that you're going to get pairs, and one person will start, you will read your analysis, and the other person will only ask questions. And then everything new that you discover, you write it down so that you complete this paper more deeply. Any questions about what you're going to do? Okay.
Question or comment?
Yes.
We don't know each other.
That's even better if you don't know each other. And it's better to do with someone you don't know, actually. Right.
Okay. So we didn't make an alignment about keeping
Okay.
confidential.
Very important. Total confidentiality. I don't think it needs to be said, but we're saying it. We're here to discover ourselves, so anything that you share never leaves this room. And that confidentiality means you don't even discuss it between yourselves. Okay? Even with someone else that is here. Okay? Is there anyone that cannot agree to that? Okay. And also share what you feel like sharing, what you can share. Okay? Okay, confidentiality. It's important that you said it. Okay. Okay, so make couples and start. Yeah. You see, the break is going to be at, I think, what time are you going to eat? At 1:30. So 10 minutes each. After that experience of sharing, asking questions.
They're all the same.
Okay. Very, very important realization. We're all the same, yes. What else do you feel or experience? Huh? More relaxed. Okay. Why do you think that happened?
Having similarities and
Feeling that
It's
someone,
conversation.
okay, feeling that someone understands you, cares about you,
Sharing.
is interested in you.
Caring.
Sharing is sharing, okay. Okay. Did any of you gain more insight?
Yes, awareness.
More insight on what is happening? Did any one of you find that you gained insight in yourself by listening to the other?
Yes.
Also, okay. Okay, so what have we done now? We have established how the mind works. There's the stimulus, there's the belief system, all these filters that it goes through, there's the emotions that are created, and the reaction. We want to help ourselves and the others understand this process, how they are creating their reality with their beliefs. And then we want to help them find alternative beliefs. Now I've given you a large list of beliefs here that may be helpful. I mentioned earlier, page 6, list of possible beliefs, what I call mistaken childhood conclusions. Okay? And you might want to look through that, see which of those you may have, and those people that you're working with. How many of you are working with people, what their beliefs might be. Then on page 7, you have a list of possible alternative beliefs. I am a good person and worthy of love and respect as I am. I am capable of making good decisions for my life. I'm able to deal with life's challenges. It's a nice list of beliefs. Consider which of those you would like to strengthen, because we're going to talk about strengthening beliefs. Okay? Now the next page, on page, yes?
Can I ask a question? Mistaken childhood conclusions, are they conscious or unconscious?
Mostly unconscious, but some of them we can also believe consciously. Some people say, people don't love me.
So
It could be a conscious belief also.
if it's unconscious, how can we gain
Okay,
insight?
where there is smoke, there has to be fire. I don't know if it's a Greek saying, okay? I don't know if it's also a Turkish saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So if there is an upset, if there is pain, then there's got to be a reason for the pain. I can't find it in the conscious mind, then I can only assume that there is something in the subconscious. And it's logical. If I'm feeling upset because someone spoke badly to me, I must be believing that my self-worth is in some way dependent on what they think. I mean, it's only logical. So we can suggest possible things. Also, what we do is we go to the childhood years and we ask the person, what is happening now? Does it remind you of anything that happened as you were a child? Can you remember any childhood experiences in which you had similar emotions? And then we have a whole process of doing childhood regressions, and we have a catharsis process where we allow people to express their pain or their anger through catharsis. They may cry or shout. And then we work on healing the past. And how do we heal the past? By reliving it with the wisdom of the present. So what we do is we go back and relive the event or the situation and bring the wisdom of the present into the past. So what we're doing is essentially we're changing the past. Why? Because the past doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is my interpretation of it. That's all that exists. That I lost my self-worth or that I wasn't secure. And when we bring the wisdom of the present into that, then I experience the same event differently, and I'm literally changing the past because the past is only my interpretation. So when I change my interpretation, I'm changing its effect on me.
It's the story of the elephant that you are.
Exactly. The elephant going back and remembering that he has the power to go free. So we do what we call regressions, enable people to remember what happened, and then to relive it in a different way. And they may relive it with some of these beliefs here that are written on page 7, which are the possible alternative beliefs. Okay? How many of you found that your issue was a self-worth issue? Raise your hand. Self-worth. Okay. It's the number one problem of humanity. How many of you found it was a security issue? Feeling safe.
Also
A freedom issue? Freedom, okay. Control? Okay, okay. Any other issues that were the core issue? What would you say is the core issue? Something different from self-worth or security? Huh? What? Okay, ability, okay. Which might have to do with self-worth and security also. Okay. Any other kind of issues? So mainly it's self-worth, security, freedom, and control. Now take a look at page 8. Here I have given you, except for a list of emotions, a list of possible spiritual beliefs which you may or may not want to accept. Okay, for example, there is a God, a divine loving being or universal consciousness with which I am directly connected. I don't need anyone else to connect for me. Okay, I have direct ADSL to God. It's always open. It's there. Now, when I say God, I don't mean this guy with a beard and a white robe. Okay, I'm talking about a universal consciousness, a presence in all beings, in all religions. No religion has exclusivity on this being, okay? And we are this being, as far as I'm concerned. We are that consciousness, okay? Secondly, there is a hidden justice in the universe, which allows only that which is just and good to happen to me, even if it is difficult for my mind to perceive it in this way. How many of you believe that? How many have difficulty believing that? I'm going to give you a small example. Say a bird comes into this room, okay? Now how many of you would like to eat it? No. Anyone want to kill it? No. What do you want to do? To free it. Does the bird believe that? No. And what does it do? It hits itself on the wall, on the ceiling, it beats itself up because it has no faith in your intentions. So this is how I see life. The divine comes to us and says, you know, I'm going to take your spouse, or I'm going to take your fortune, or I'm going to take your health for a period of time. And I'm doing this to free you from the illusion that your self-worth or your security or your happiness actually depends on these things. Because you can't experience what you really are as long as you are dependent. So this is the hand coming down, trying to free me from this place where I've gotten in, and I have no faith in that hand. And so this is horrible. This is punishment. There is no God. There is no loving God. There is no justice. This couldn't be good, this unpleasant event. So if we see it from that point of view, that we are this bird in the cage, in the room, and that life only wants to free us, and that means realizing our true spiritual nature, we will see all things as love. All events. Doesn't mean that we need negative situations to grow. I'm not saying that. We can grow very well in positive realities. And I suggest you create the most positive reality that you can create. But when things don't go well, don't think it's a punishment. And don't think there's something wrong. It may just be, I believe it is, what we need to realize what we really are. Something much more powerful and worthy and beautiful than we thought. Okay, so that's number 2. I and my loved one, number 3, are immortal beings. We do not die. No one dies. We simply leave this plane and continue to exist on another non-physical dimension, which according to many sources is more beautiful than this one. Anyone believe that? Nobody? Okay. That there is no death, that there is eternal life, okay, and that the other dimensions are even more beautiful than this one.
We don't know that yet.
Okay, that's why I put it in a belief. Okay, I didn't put it in the.
It could be worse, they would come.
Okay. 4. Life, the universe, God, is benign and loving and gives to me and my loved ones only what is beneficial for our spiritual development. Sometimes that will be pleasant for my body and mind, and other times it will be unpleasant. But it will always be what's best for me and my loved ones as souls in evolution. So I put this as a list of things that we can't prove, okay? They're proven for me, but they're not proven scientifically. So you either believe them or don't believe. It's in the 4th category, spiritual intuition or spiritual beliefs. You can choose to believe them or not. Life is much more beautiful when you believe them, because you feel safe and you feel much more relaxed. Okay. 5. I and my, let's change that am to and. I and my loved ones have the inner power and intelligence to deal with, overcome, and use to our spiritual benefit anything that has happened, is happening, or will happen. That is, we are given things according to our ability to deal with them. Now, we have free will to use that ability or not. Okay? Not everyone uses it. Some people lose their center, go into deep depression, unhappiness, anger, panic, rage. That's a choice that we can make. But I believe that that ability is in each person. And I believe that it's important for you to believe that. Because if someone comes to you and you see them, and I have this issue with the psychiatrists, because people come to me and says, I have this maniac thing, and I have this depression, and I'm bipolar, and I said, please forget all of that. You are an expression of the divine. If at this moment or in the past your mind has lost its center, don't put a label on yourself. Because when we put this label on ourselves, then we are creating that reality. And I recognize the divine behind every situation. Okay, the mind may be disturbed. It may have lost its contact with its center and with logic and with reason. But by putting a label and saying, I am this, can only make it worse. Everyone is unique. Okay? So there are no illnesses, really, physical or emotional. There are just unique persons with greater or lesser disassociation from their true self, nothing else. And if we work, we can help that. When I see that person as able, then I with sympathetic vibration, increase that. When I see them as ill and as irreparable, I increase that. So I would suggest that in yourselves and other people, always see that potential for that person to overcome what has happened. If you believe that, and do this with your children, if you see your children as weak and unable, you're saying that to them. You're telling them you're weak, you're unable, and you live in a difficult universe. Okay, so worrying doesn't help people very much. Focus on the strength in them. I think that's number 5 is important. And the last one, we are all expressions of one divine being and deserve love and respect as we are, even with our weaknesses and our faults. That includes myself, my children, spouse, parents, and even those whom I do not like. I believe that we actually love everybody. Our mind doesn't love everybody. My mind doesn't love everybody yet. It's getting there. But I know that I love everybody. Not my mind, not my ego. But I as a soul love everybody. My mind gets caught up sometimes and get disassociated from that. So really, loving is being in touch with who I really am, what I really am. Okay? Okay, now what time do you have to have this break? It's 1 o'clock. Questions first, and we will finish by 1:30, and you'll go for your lunch break and we'll come back, okay? Any questions about what we did? And page 9 has a list of possible reactions. Okay, so this is material that you can look at in your own time. It's a lot to read. I hope that you will read it and study it.
Just one question. You say that labeling is not good, and I agree with you, but in order to solve the problem, don't we have to label this to begin
No,
with?
I don't need labels. I just say, okay, what are you feeling? What causes you to feel that way? What has happened in your life? I don't need a label. No. No. Okay, read through this material. This book here has a lot to do, this is the main book about what we've done until now, okay? The Psychology of Happiness, okay? And it's got a lot of case examples inside also, besides the teaching, okay? Now, anything more about analysis, because we're going to move from analysis now to energy psychology. The analysis is what enables us to see what we need to do. The energy psychology is that which will remove it. Any questions? Okay, I want to show you a short video which has Turkish subtitles, okay, about EFT. And also, if you find anything on quantum physics with Turkish subtitles, I wish you would send me the link. I looked for about an hour the other day and I couldn't find anything. So if you find something, send me the link, and it'll be better than having the Greek subtitles. About quantum physics.
Sabahleyin gösterdiği o kuantum fizikle olan şey internette bulabilirsiniz Türkçe altyazılarıyla. Ben onu daha önce seyretine eminim. Öyle mi? Türkçe altyazıları diye hatırlıyorum ama bakacağım tekrar.
Now this video is comments by various people who had physical problems. But to get rid of those physical problems, they had to work on the emotional problems which were causing the physical problems. They're all psychosomatic conditions. Okay? Is the camera have more time on it, or is it finished? How much does it say? It says a number on 3 minutes. Okay. We don't need to record the movie anyway. Just let it play out. Okay.